Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Selamat malam. 大家晚上好. For those that just coming out from Ramadan, I wish you selamat berbuka puasa. And for our friends here, welcome. Now, if you are a guest and you are not part of Review KW Malaysia, please type 2. If you are part of Review KW Malaysia, please type 1. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Great. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. It's really an awesome day today. This is the day that I told many people, some of you potentially was given the opportunity to go out and start doing viewings and start doing house viewings. And I know one agent from MC to Market Center 2 had 3 appointments and closed 2 deals, 2 out of 3. So a lot of good things, good stuff coming out from this this first day of us being out of this CMCO that we are in right now. What are some of the things that you are looking forward to do tomorrow? Can you all just share in the chat box quickly while we are waiting for a couple more people to sign up? Just give them that 1 minute. What are some of the things, appointments, what else? What are you gonna do tomorrow since we are now allowed to leave our homes for work? What are some of the things that you'll be doing? Anita says she will do appointments. What else? Anyone else? Just feel free to share it in the chat box while we are waiting for a couple more people. Go jogging, awesome. Awesome, collect checks. There you go. All right, good to know, good to know. We are viewing, great, meet family members, absolutely. Well, today we are very, very honored that we have all the way live from North Carolina, where she has a beautiful view of the beach and the sea. We have Gabi Brennesholtz from North Carolina, who is actually a KW Maps coach. And she came highly recommended from KW Worldwide as a good trainer and a good coach. And we are very pleased that today she is able to join us all the way, 12 hours difference, but she's here to join us and to kind of share with us about overcoming limiting beliefs. Now, I will allow her she will probably do a better job introducing herself, but I would like to pass the time. Everyone, welcome Gabi on the call. Gabi, take us away.
Hello and Selamat Petang.
Wow.
I trust I said that somewhat correctly, because if not, this is over right now and we can just call it a day.
Yeah, you got it right, you got it right.
Thank you, and thank you so much for welcoming me tonight. I'm hugely honored to have been asked to participate in what I know is going to be a brilliant discussion with all of you. I was just sharing earlier with the regional crew that it's really fun to know that we have such a blessing with the world that we live in to be able to use technology to have brilliant discussions together around the world while we're sharing, what is a set of circumstances that we too share. So in a way, there's like this, I feel like all these gifts converging in a time where we have this forced pause. So I thank you so much for being here. And over the next 45 minutes, I look forward to, digging a little bit deeper into what limiting beliefs are, what triggers them, and a few strategies that you might be able to use, especially in this time now and in the upcoming weeks, that you can even train your children around or your family members. So just to give you a little bit of background in regards to what I'm all about. I have been a KW Maps business coach for the past 6 years and have the pleasure of coaching high volume teams. And I think I just pulled the numbers in regards to the success stories of my clients as of 2019. And I was so happy to see that, my client roster last year sold a total of 2,827 homes. So just an incredible accomplishment of what they do on a daily basis. And so what I do is just to provide them support and accountability and focus on a weekly basis to continue to let that number go up. Much of what I do is I actually focus on the database and leadership development, because as you can imagine, limiting beliefs start coming into the world of some of these big teams. Let's see if I can also manage my screen. Can everybody see the screen that I just shared?
Absolutely. All good.
Oh, fabulous. Great. Yeah, so much of what we do is, we go back to the models and principles that Gary Keller trains us to in MREA, and we take that, pull it apart, and create systematic and long-term growth that is causing those teams to continue to grow over time. And as you can imagine, if you have some teams who sell 200, 300, 400 homes on an annual basis, or even very strong individual agents who might be selling 80, 90 homes on their own, naturally it becomes really difficult to wake up on January 1st and to wonder, can I do this again? What a brilliant limiting belief for a coach to get started with, right? So ultimately, of course, we hear this, and it's almost one of those bumper stickers that one could put on their bicycle or their car, where we talk about success is sequential, not simultaneous, right? And that the greatest barrier to someone achieving their potential is their denial of it, and how it all starts in our mind. Well, heck, if we know this, and if many, many books have been written on it, then what is it that triggers those, so that if we knew what triggers it, we could actually control those thoughts, or we could acknowledge those thoughts and do something with them. So as a coach, my job pretty much looks like this most of the time. And what you might be seeing are two incredibly hardworking individuals who are digging. They're digging for something, and sometimes doesn't it feel like we don't even really know what we're digging for because we just can't see what's on the other side. See, what happens is sometimes we start the success and we do it sequentially. We just tend to stop right before we hit what I hope you can see are those diamonds there at the very end. So if you've ever struggled with a limiting belief, congratulations, you are completely normal. So I'm here to tell you, if you have been waking up recently, especially with a few limiting beliefs that have been creeping in, you're good, you're human. Let's break through them today, right? So to create that practice is something that we'll dig into. One of the pleasures that I've also recently had was just a couple of weeks ago. I had the honor of being in Gary Keller's Top Coaches Mastermind. So if it's okay with all of you, I'll share with you a couple of those aha-inducing moments that I had during the workshop in regards to how Gary Keller looks at what's going on right now, and how he is personally leveling his mindset and training himself to change his attitude, his beliefs, and the way he's taking action on a daily basis to grow. So let's start off, and maybe I can see here if I open my chat box. Yeah, to see, what do you guys define as a limiting belief? I'd love to hear it from you. What are those? And I'll give you just a couple of moments to be able to type those up. And aloha. Yes, hello. Oh, I see so many friends have joined us. Fantastic. Oh yeah, there's a good one. I am old for social media marketing. Oh yeah, spend all that time working really hard to earn more money, right? Or the desire to wanting to make more money. And then there's the big one. Yep, those demons inside of us. Can I overcome them? Maybe it's just me, right? Maybe nobody else has those. Yeah, that's a big one too. Oh, I love this. Being scared of failure. Yeah. And a lot of times I also get this with folks, either I'm too old for something, or I'm too young to be successful in this business. Oh yeah, client's just going to say no. You're doing great with those limiting beliefs. Keep them coming. Yeah, everybody's going to say no. Yes. Oh, you're good. Negative emotions, people around this. Yeah, there's so much to do every day. And so what all of these statements are, there are things that probably come to you fairly easily, right? When I ask you, what are your limiting beliefs? You've got 100 right there. The buffet of limiting beliefs is high, and it's plentiful. So what they really are, they're all these negative thoughts, right? Thoughts that fuel negative emotions that actually fuel inaction, which then fuels us to continue to stay stagnant and to actually never reach the potential that we were all born with, that brilliance inside of us that makes every human truly human. Sometimes it's hard for us to remember that a simple way, right, and this is kind of where I'll share with you the first strategy, is to take those limiting beliefs and to actually instead of thinking about life happening to you, right, which is something you can't control, to consider starting to think about how you happen to life. See, even just the change in a couple of words is something that takes more intentionality and also more energy to stop yourself in the tracks and to turn one of those limiting beliefs into something that could potentially become unlimiting. See, when we turn some of our words we use into words that empower us, it actually can help us to fuel a desire for growth. And the moment that you start creating that energy internally, and by the way, can we see energy? Yeah, that's what's tough about this one, right? It's not something that we can necessarily do, see, touch. It's just that once we start creating that internal dialogue, and it really begins with those words in our head. That's right. And I love that you said, yep, you can feel the energy, and you can feel it when somebody probably has an empowered mindset so that their thoughts and their words are in alignment with something that shows up as an action on the outside, right? Have you ever met somebody and at first glance you think, my gosh, everybody must like them. They're just so fun, or they're just so brilliant, right? And these are all the things that show up because that's maybe an individual that has spent a lifetime creating a habit or several sets of habits that fuel a different set of thoughts, so that it takes new intentionality and a new habit to have this show up on the outside that makes other people feel that energy, right? And in one of the trainings that we have at KW called Bold, what we teach is this cycle, right? Because when we can think differently and we can train ourselves to use words in a different way, then we act in a different way, which then becomes a new habit with new results, and those new results, which will be positive, which will be good, turn into a new level of thoughts. So we've all heard this before. It all starts and ends with our mind. Historically, take a wild guess, by the way, why it's so easy for the human brain to come up with tons of negative thoughts. Anybody got an idea? Yes, blueprint and survival. You got it. See, the thing is, our brains were wired to protect us. So when our ancestors were, roaming the country, they had to, right? So it was easy. It was easy for us to use words that kept us safe, and that kept us actually safe, yeah, from experiences that would endanger and harm us. So this goes back to saying, when you have these thoughts, it's perfectly normal. And the thing is, in the world that we live in, we probably don't have to start running from tigers anymore. And we have a short life to live, so might as well start reaching that full potential and stretch and lean into a new space like that is going to feel uncomfortable. I love it, Ikram, you just used that word, right? It's just more comfortable usually to stay in that space and to tell yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, right? I'm not going to get that promotion. I'm not good enough. Selling 10 more houses, it couldn't be for me. Yet when your heart's desire wants you actually to enroll into your full potential. Think of it this way. When we were young, many moons ago, and we were on the playground or we were at school, the mindset, the attitudes, and the beliefs that you had in your life, were those the same that they are now, or were they different? Share with me a couple of things that you used to believe as a kid. Like sometimes it's fun to remember, what is it that you wanted to be when you grew up? For me personally, I really wanted to be a pop star. Anybody else like the Spice Girls? I was Posh Spice. I had the movie. I had all the CDs. I was going to be a pop star. Nobody was going to stop me. My parents bought me the microphone. There is a video that you could shame me into showing you at some point when we meet each other again, that would display that I have no limiting beliefs. And then one day I ended up auditioning for, it was one of those local radio stations in Germany that was doing casting, right, for the next pop star. So I submitted a tape. I didn't even get a response. What do you think that made me feel in regards to my pop star career? It was awful, right? So from that moment, I knew I wasn't going to become a pop star, so might as well pick up to learn how to play the saxophone. So then that's what I ended up doing in college. Same for you. Yes, Santa is real. That's cute. Fashion model, right? We have all these dreams and aspirations because there are these there are no reference points when we were kids that tell us that we're not good enough, or that it can't be done, or that it's not going to be enough for me to reach the next level, or that's not for me. So what triggers them is that at one point, we actually became adults. See, you can probably think of a time, and allow me to stay with those limiting beliefs for just a second longer before we will break into the strategies of how to unbreak them. There came a point where our brain started to protect us from the limitless possibilities that our life could hold, to us starting to find the evidence why it can't be done. And it usually starts either in the environment that we're in, post the playground years. This can be middle school or your high school, your family, workers, co-workers. And what our brain started to do was to look elsewhere and find new reference points. Those are the triggers in our brain. And we collect them all the time. It's not something that we control. It's just something that happens, that actually does happen to us, right? So there are all these filters that are coming in. So when we know that these trigger points are coming in and we have no way of being able to do something with them, then what do you think happens over time? Get stuck again. And we start actually believing the many reference points, and our brain actually does not have the ability to filter either or. So what do? Turning the page for once, that's it. Finding new evidence, right? And that is something that, instead of life happening to us, is now something we can totally control, and we can do this one step or one strategy at a time. I wanted to share with you one of probably the most defining moments of how in more recent years, my husband and I, who is also a fabulous naps coach, by the way, overcame. And that actually happened in 2018, when Paul and I lived through what was one of the biggest hurricanes on the East Coast in the United States that had come through. And it was Hurricane Florence. And what happened was, for 3-4 days, that hurricane, because it moved so very slowly, ended up providing huge devastation in our town. And see, sometimes what happens for you to stop the triggers of how life may not be good enough, or how your job may not be powerful enough for you, or how you can't have these opportunities, is something that will just stop your life in its tracks. And that was that for us. So what ended up happening, and I actually brought a couple of pictures to share, was after the hurricane left our town, for 2 weeks, emergency responders and resources had a really hard time coming into our area, because there was so much water on the waterways and bridges to come in that we were unable to get help. So we were completely cut off from the universe. And what do you think? Yeah, it happens when you're stuck for 2 weeks in the middle of pandemonium and disaster. You think. Actually, you just sit and think, right? So for 14 days, and forgive me, I'm actually trying to get my mouse to share the screen again. Where is it? There we go. And I'll just share that one more time. There it is. Oops. See, this is me working technology now. Fabulous. So here we go. Hurricane Florence devastated the town. And this was right down the street from where our house was. So while we're sitting there trying to put on roofs and tarps with everybody, we both started to think about what it is that we really want out of life. And when you have one of those, we call them at KW defining moments, you start asking yourself some really powerful questions, which, by the way, trigger new responses. There's that word trigger again. And the question for us became, how do we actually desire to live life, right, in our life's values? What empowers us to show up in a meaningful way on this planet so that we can leave a legacy of empowering others, of helping communities, including our own? Who would we have to become to actually live our true version of our life versus what we felt like we were doing day in and day out until that hurricane hit? So we decided to write out our life vision. We decided to really identify what it is that creates meaning in our lives. And one of those things that we had, talked about previously, but had a lot of limiting beliefs around, was the idea of travel to train, travel to share what you can do when you have a real plan of action with our coaching clients, because we have a lot of people who we partner with that also look to us for whether it's inspiration or guidance to build their perfect lives, right? So how inauthentic was it for us not to be living ours? So you know what we did? We went straight from, we don't have enough time for travel, we work so much, we have to work all this time to make more money, to, well, the town is going to need some repair for a while. Might as well help our coaching clients by traveling, helping our coaching clients by traveling the country, and by doing this in a camper. So not even 45 days later, we had turned this limiting belief of can't be done, can't do it, to let's just go check out some campers. What would it look like to work from the road and to not live in a house while we're full-time working? And here's the result. Let me see if I can, I'll share this one more time. By the end of December of 2018, we bought a camper and we started driving. And since then, we have been through the Southeast United States in this bus, coaching our clients from our laptops and cell phones, visiting some of them, celebrating with some of them, the greatest successes that they had in 2018 as a result of the last shift. Because as you know, is it possible that there's a lot of opportunity that can be created in a shift like a hurricane? Remember that hurricane hit the better part of the peninsula on the eastern side of Florida, all the way up to North Carolina. Many of our clients were in that path. And while we started to embrace the meaning for our life, so did our clients, with the strategies of adjusting mindset, attitudes, and beliefs, which I'll share with you momentarily, as well as creating new emotions that equaled a new motion or a new action for their businesses. And yes, it is a big camper. You know what, by the way? It had to be, because my husband, since he's also a MAPS coach, and we needed separate spaces to be able to coach. So he will be in the back, in the bedroom and in the bathroom area, and we'll have this little door in between. And in the front, I'll be in the kitchen, which is, by the way, the better spot because that's where the coffee is located. And we'll spend our time servicing I think what this combined, roughly 70 business owners that we get to coach. So why do I share this with you? It's a personal story that we really lived through the last year and a half. And we're the only reason, by the way, you see that we are currently inside of a condo is with the shutdowns in the United States. It just became tougher to find campgrounds that could host and accommodate us. So now we're back in near Emerald Isle, staying with in a family's property. So that's a huge gift for us. So back to triggers, right? So that was one heck of a trigger for us to make a life-changing decision. Oh, and I see, yes. Yeah, somebody just said, Harjinder, campers in the US are a different magnitude. I can guarantee you that when my parents in Germany saw that we had purchased a camper, that they said, everything's bigger in the US. It's true. So let's go back to some of those limiting beliefs that you shared earlier. I can't be successful in this market, or I'm too old to work on social media. I'd love to play with you and see how you could use a couple of different words to turn those limiting beliefs, I can't work and travel, into an unlimiting belief. Let's start with, I am too old to be proficient at social media. Somebody give it a try. Oh, I love that. I am never too old to learn. Now that is an unlimiting belief. Brilliant. And how about, it's great to learn something new every day. Did you know that part of what the mental conditioning does for our brain by learning something new every day is that it actually keeps your brain more elastic, right? Learning something new, something that keeps you potentially uncomfortable for just 5 to 10 minutes a day is really good for your brain and also for your soul. Sharing that with others, even better. Because again, it's this thing that creates that outward energy when you train your mind something new, to use new words that start with potentially I can, right? And I am the perfect age for social media marketing. Age is just a number. Boy, you're even better at those unlimiting beliefs. Yes. Yeah, love that. Age is just a number is getting a lot of votes. And absolutely, that lifelong learning is for everyone. My mind has no limits. Let's play with another one. Yeah, I can't be successful in a pandemic. Let's use the shift. How do we turn that into an unlimiting belief? I am confident in a new environment. Yeah, I can do it no matter what the situation. For those of you who are with Keller Williams, those business principles were written regardless of economic shift. There are a lot to attract us to the systems and models because they work. Many of them used of cycles, regardless. Yes, now it's oh, I love that, Sukumari. Congratulations on a really good one here. Now it's time because everybody's in the house, right? They're home, they're happy, and they will list with me. Or they're home, they're happy, they're gonna want to talk to me. Remember what Gary Keller says, this is all about being in service first so that the sales will follow second. The reason that we have those processes in place is simply because it is a way for us to be able to systematically be of service to others and come from contribution to others. Oh, that's a good, believe in yourself and you will be unstoppable, right? And that again goes back to, thank you for sharing that, how it begins in the mind. And yeah, if I put time into my business now, since everybody is at home, I'll gain more mind share now so that I can gain market share later. Focus and just keep going no matter what. Yeah, beautiful. So that's one simple strategy that if every single day you were to make the decision to start saying this out loud, because by the way, there is research that has been done where it's very useful to start in your mind, to even whisper to yourself, but to outwardly say something helps your brain and your body retain words in a stronger fashion, right? Especially the vibrations of saying something out loud so that you start believing that yourself. From observer into producer, that's a great one. That's a cool bumper sticker too, by the way. I'm a big fan of sayings that we can create into bumper stickers or t-shirts, right? We're the company that loves to wear t-shirts. Yes. Learning is from cradle to grave. That's it. Oh, that's a good one too. I think that's a good bumper sticker too. Somebody make me a bumper sticker with these. And how this is, like I said, a perfect opportunity for us to create relationships more so than ever, because you guys, at the end of the day, what will fuel you is social connection and relationships for your mind, body, and spirit. And how funny that it's the same thing that we do in business as well. See, folks will never work with people who are all about the transactions. They work with people who know that can be trusted, cared for, and utterly liked, right? So it's our job to make ourselves human, now more so than ever, and help people to come from contribution or make them smarter. Potentially, you've even heard some limiting beliefs in your sphere through your old coworkers, your family, your friends, in regards to what they believe this is all about and what this year is going to look like or what it's not going to look like. One of the things that Gary Keller told us coaches a couple of weeks ago was the old plans for the year 2020 went out the window. It's just that we haven't caught on to that to make the adjustments and to embrace flexibility. Think about it like a tree. When you think of a tree that may be 100 years old that you may see in a park or out in the country, the thing that helps them to keep surviving is that those trees are not rigid. The moment that a tree or a plant turns rigid, what happens to it? It breaks. But what makes us so pliable in nature and as human beings is the fact that we're really flexible. So is our mind, by the way, which is why I love those research studies. That's it, that we can do it and it's just different. Should be careful, I should say this out loud or yell this out loud, except that I'm in a condo complex, so people will probably think that I've had way too much coffee today. And the thing is, the more pliable we become, especially with the stuff that we can't see, the more we're turning ourselves into one of those beautiful trees that can survive anything and embrace flexibility. So I want you to think of a time right now where you have actually had an unlimiting experience. You may have had a limiting belief in the beginning, I don't know if I'm good enough, and then to turn that into an unlimiting experience and really visualize that and blow that up in your mind. So if you have to close your eyes for that, feel free to do that. And really magnify what that experience was like. See what you saw in that moment, hear what you heard. And sometimes individuals think of it as a still picture, or it can even be a moving image. What were the sounds that you experienced? Maybe there was something in the room or in nature that you noticed. Perhaps if it was an experience where you also got to taste something, tasting the sense of the air, temperature, a food perhaps. And kinesthetically, how did that moment feel outside of your body, maybe on the inside? And to take a snapshot of that moment. What you may just now have experienced is a skill that is called savoring. It's to savor moments. And more studies that are coming out in the space of positive psychology actually have proven now that when you learn every day, and it could just be a few moments if you're doing morning meditation or you're taking walks, even if you may have been doing them in your apartment now, in your home now, that you learn how to stay in the moment and to remember a time where you felt limitless. Because what it does to your brain is it actually starts fueling new pieces of evidence that actually remind you of a time when you were already that willow tree and you had that flexibility. And that skill of savoring takes intentionality and it takes time. And it is one of those things that help us to break out of survival into thrive mode. So thus far, you've had a short experience on how to savor. Let's go back into gratitudes. Gratitudes is something that for those of you who are Keller Williams associates, you may have heard a lot about in trainings. And I am here to share with you that gratitudes are probably one of the most overlooked strategies on a daily basis that could take a short while, right? Just a few seconds to write something down or to share verbally with the individual. That we don't do because it's so easy or because it takes intentionality. Gratitudes and affirmations. I'd love to hear a couple of gratitudes from you. Your day is over now. What are you grateful for from the past 24 hours? Yeah, being thankful for what we have. For one thing, I've been really grateful to spend more time with my family, with my father living in Germany, my mother living in Thailand. I've had more FaceTime, more Zoom calls than ever, and I'm loving it. Oh yeah, gratitude to the regional team for arranging the training. You guys are amazing. And the weeks ahead of training you guys have coming up, super fantastic. Health, yes. Is it possible that some of us have learned how to do more crunches on the inside because we had to? Absolutely. Oh, my pleasure. And I love being here too. My enthusiasm for mindset and attitude, I hope shows. It's a practice every day. Yes. So you guys are really doing a great job with the gratitude. What about affirmations? Those are things that, by the way, start with I am statements. And they can be as short as I am enough. That again, we could just spend a couple of seconds every morning to tell ourselves, or to better yet, write them down. Or longer. I am good at something. I am unstoppable. I am blessed. Glad that we are one big family. That's a great gratitude. Yes. I am human. And by the way, what we're not talking about necessarily with those I am statements is to put away the things that make us sad, right? Because I think sometimes people mistake negative emotions and put them in the same box as sad, dreary, slow, right? These are all words that feel kind of heavy. Yet at the same time, we can't become or remain brilliant human beings until we acknowledge that sometimes sadness or gravity is perfectly okay to have while we're also grateful, right? Or that when we are stable or patient. It's yin and yang. It has to work together to make brilliance. Yeah, I see a few more coming in. I am possible. I am happy. Oh, grateful to be meeting the vibrant Gabi. At least it's showing up. Maybe it's the coffee. I know it's the company too. Happy, blessed, and no expectations. Now there's another one. By the way, at the end of our time together, I'll share with you a couple of resources that really helped me to redial in and redefine what expectations are. So maybe that will help you too. Excellent. Perfect. Uniquely created. Oh, I'm feeling the energy over here, thousands of miles away. Fabulous. So now you have the gratitudes down. You certainly have the affirmations down. You have the savoring moments. And that's really one of those really fun times where sometimes, when I'm having a bad day, because of course everybody has, up and down days, it's even fun to use savoring moments to pull out pictures or video. Maybe that time that your child took those first few steps and you have that captured, or the moment that you provided an amazing surprise to someone, and just to see their expression on their face makes your day every time you watch it, right? Those are really wonderful moments, especially as you're getting into the practice of savoring, to be able to use, right? So visuals are allowed and encouraged. Whatever works for you, be that willow tree, and embrace flexibility to come up with what works for you. Let's see here. Yes. Oh yeah. And then exercise. Gary Keller talks about this on page 308 in the English version of MREA. And what it talks about is this energy plan, right? So what does that look like? Who remembers what some of the key things are that Gary has been saying for years in the book we should be doing to create altering thoughts and great energy? I'll give you a big one. Having breakfast with his family is something that he wrote into the book, right? Social connection and family time. That's part of the exercise. Because sometimes I think when I hear the word exercise, my brain goes straight to physical activity, right? I need to run somewhere for 30 minutes. That's not what Gary talks about. It's one of the things he talks about. He's actually also discussing exercising the mind, the body, of course, and also the spirit. And the book is called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. For some of you who may not yet have it, I bet you can get with the team and we can get you a copy. And there is an entire chapter on the energy chapter, Right now, what Gary shared with us coaches is that we want to be spending maybe even more than 30 minutes, if time can allow, if our space can allow, and embrace flexibility on how we're going to do it. I'll share a big secret with you. We as coaches, we were going to run a half marathon together. That's 13.1 US miles. And now that the event got canceled, and actually, sorry, I'm going to write in the book here real quick, and then I'll share with you our fun little secret. Don't share it with anybody. Only KW Malaysia gets to know this. Here is the book. So what we decided to do is actually create a new challenge to be active for not only 30 minutes, but up to 45. Because right now, gaining energy may take a little longer, the same way that some of us may be resting a little longer right now. And we've learned how to start dancing with each other, do physical exercises together, have little accountabilities, right? And creating a tribe, creating an environment where we are all in this together and we're celebrating what's going well. And sometimes going well looks terrible, right? Because it's all about having fun and creating new energy. And a limiting belief could in fact now be, it's looking terrible. When an unlimiting belief could be what? We're all in this together. It's a ton of fun and we're laughing more than ever. I mean, the amount of laughing that Zoom calls alone have cost, can't beat that, right? That's not something we had 45 days ago. Which takes me to the next big key item that Gary also talks about in the energy chapter, and another strategy that I challenge every single one of you to lean into in addition to exercise. It's actually sleeping and resting longer. One of the things that Gary talked about with us coaches was, in order to continue to keep a positive mindset and to unlimit your beliefs, is for your mind, body, and spirit to rest more. So in the past, when you may have needed 7 hours in order to be able to get good rest, may now take 8. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're now sleeping an extra hour longer. It may mean that you're giving yourself more grace and also more time to schedule in rest, which can also, for me personally, look in the space of meditation, right? Where I'm just unplugged and I'm unwound from the world needing my attention. That can be nature walks, right? Or walks as you can start to go out now to experience your city, your community again in a slower and different way. And to find rest with what works for you. One of the fun things that my husband loves to do is he likes to paint, right? He has these adult coloring books, and a couple of years ago, we got him this big set of colored pencils, and he'll just draw that in, right? And pick something. That's his way of resting and relaxing. The final strategy I'd love to share with you, and you've heard me share that that's one of the things that works really well for me, is also meditation. To be able to meditate and to really sit still, to revisit intentions for the day, and to prepare your mind, body, and spirit for the following day. It's all of these strategies that if you just decided to choose one, and you knew, right, I wouldn't be an effective coach if I didn't challenge all of you right now to think about one of those 5 ways to put into your 24-hour calendar action item, to play with one, just one, for 10 minutes, and to see if you can do it the next day. When you will have completed that one thing for 10 minutes successfully, yeah, go ahead and just take a little bit of time to think about that one thing. Personally, for me, the toughest one was savoring moments, right? To really sit still and to be thinking about the specific experience, and to think about what it smelled, tasted, sounded, looked like, who was there with me. It's one of the toughest things for me to learn, and still is. Some days it's tough because my brain wants to go to all these different places, when we also know it's the channeled focus for just a short period of time on a daily basis too, when you take that magnification, that it changes the chemistry in your body and in your brain. Press 1 if you've got one of those things you're willing to try in the next 24 hours. Great. Diana and Hannah are on it. Lots of ones coming in. Oh, the ones are raining down now. Excellent. Excellent. Brilliant. Raining one. That's right, Diana. Oh, somebody's starting to count. Wherever you are, if it works for you, right? We're embracing flexibility. Got your action? Great. So if you're interested in continuing to learn the practice of it, so I'm here to tell you successful people work on this sequentially over a long period of time, because you are brilliant humans and you are your greatest saboteur. Right? You're the greatest reason that you're going to reach a new level of achievement over a period of time when you work on that one thing, or you're going to be the one to hold yourself back. Try this for 10 minutes. If it works for 10 minutes, and we have this, we actually have a visual from another book that our great company has published called The One Thing. Maybe you're going to consider creating a 66-day challenge to see if for 66 days straight, every day, no cheating, you can do that one thing for 10 minutes. Watch what will happen in your mind when you do. So a couple of other resources that have been published by positive psychologists that are factual based for those of you who are just like me and you like data and you like facts, is The How of Happiness. And I'm happy to put that book into the chat as well. By a famous researcher from, I believe she's from Eastern Europe, Sonia Lubomirsky. The other book I would strongly recommend, our coaching clients loved this book last year, is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And for those of you who are all in on mindset and development growth, there's even a free course that one of the Ivy League schools in the United States is currently offering called The Science of Well-Being. I'll put that in here as well. From Yale University. So it's actually a free, I believe it's a 7 or 8 week course into which you could enroll today for free. And they have an incredible instructor who is walking you through some of the behind the scenes of what happens in your brain and what the research has been. So I would invite you, if you want to go all in as part of your 66-day challenge, take that course as well. To summarize, and now I get to switch back to my nifty slides here. Let's see. Trust you can see it now. Great. Is that there are 5 strategies that research has proven and shown will work for you to unlimit your mindset if you can pick one of those 5 for now, play with them, and see how over time, when you do this consistently, your success around your mindset will also become sequential and unlimiting. So I'd love to hear from you. What thoughts, comments, or questions might have come up? Or maybe fun experiences that took you back into some savoring moments. I'm always very interested in those.
Hey, Gabi, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
So I was in one of the mastermind from Gary last week as well for OPs. And he started the call with this sounding of, if you wake up every morning and you are hoping that everything else will still be back to its normal before this crisis, you need a reality check. It was very clear when he said that. And he said that 80% of the people will be in denial that there is a new normal coming. So what are your thoughts on this, and what are your tips for our audience here today in how can they, because many people are still not seeing that and they're not able to comprehend that. What are some of your advice or tips for those? Because that's probably one of the most important limiting beliefs, that we are actually in a new normal. We need to shift the way we do things, the way we think about our lives, the way we think about business, right? So what do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Gary is saying. And I think it takes me back to whoever mentioned it earlier is us getting real with being that willow tree. Because the thing is, when you think about what your life and your routine looked like 30 to 45 days ago, and what it is now, you can either be in reality with yourself to go, okay, well, my life has changed, whether it is because my family was at home or I had to be at home. That right there should be a reality check. And what it also now means for us to continue to live with the gift of the shift, as Gary calls it, meaning we already know that now the way we are communicating with our clients can be virtual, perhaps more so than ever. Or that there are business strategies that we've had to adjust over the last 45 days that now we get to continue to adjust or maybe start to document based on what we know how business can be done, whether it's maybe more profitably than before because we don't have to spend the money anymore. Maybe it's to save our customers more time. Or thirdly, maybe it's because there's now a new way of being able to do business like we haven't thought about before because we were in this old tape of this is the way it is. There are going to be two types of people that are going to continue to look at this either as an opportunity or as an individual with a stuck mindset. There are going to be the 20% of people who are going to go, bam, this is an opportunity. I've got this. I'm going to figure this out and create a new game plan because I see already how people are being successful in this shift. Or we're going to have the other set of people who are going to go, bam, oh my gosh, let me just sit and do nothing. Still nothing. I'm just going to wait. You get to decide who you want to be. Because the thing is, no matter how you're going to decide to seize your next 24 hours, it's going to be up to you. We're not watching, right? We don't have any hidden cameras there to see how you're going to start taking advantage or stick your head in the sand. And that's what Gary's talking about. We're not going to lie about it. It's not going to be the same. All right, so might as well start playing with this now because right now, we may even have the grace of the environment because there's been maybe some chaos cost or frenetic energy cost, right? All these things that are cost in our environments. And it's almost like this beautiful space where we can start hiding from those bad energies to go, how can I create my BAM?
Like what Gary said, how do we blow things up right now?
Yeah,
right.
In a big way. One of my favorite examples is one of my clients did not take no for an answer. Her one thing this year was to grow her database with new key relationships, right? Because she wanted to get more repeat and referral business from those people who already had done business with her and liked her. So what she did the last 30 days was she grabbed a camera and also a photographer that was out of business right now because nobody was out taking pictures. And they got in a car and every day, 100 times thus far as of last weekend, drove to everybody's front doorstep and took pictures of the family from afar. And then they donated their time and those pictures to those families. And she is on track to have over 60 new families in her database and people raving about her and her business when they didn't even know her 30 days ago. So how's that from taking yourself from a space, and it was the coaching call that started with, well, I don't know that I'm going to make goal anymore. To us saying, well, right, because I'm not going to take that for an answer, to what would it look like if you created a different system? Now she's the person who is going to my other coaching clients to share her system and her playbook. Wow, that was a proud coaching moment.
Awesome.
In a couple, yeah. I mean, and we have so many of those great success stories. So instead of looking around and thinking, well, I don't think it can be done, how about we stand up and we go, I wonder who else has done it already? Because I can guarantee you it's currently being done or it's already been done.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing the story.
Oh, my pleasure.
Do you have any more questions that Gabi is here for the next maybe 25 minutes or so? Is there any questions that you guys want to have or any ahas you guys want to share on the chat box? Feel free to do that right now.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing some more unlimiting statements. So good. More productive time for agents. That's right. Well, Charles Lee, I'm going to come back to you whenever Jonathan re-invites me. I'll be here.
I was thinking like tomorrow, so.
If I can bring my coaching clients, maybe they can share some tips and tricks as well. Jonathan, I have one client. I mean, there's another one in a couple of weeks that will be on the American KW Live. She listed 22 homes in the pandemic. 22 while pregnant. I know. I mean, that's human brilliance right there.
Absolutely. There's a question from Ryan. Can we meditate, visualize? Hang on, I missed that question. Can we meditate, visualize that we have positive commotion? I'm not sure whether is that a question. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, and I think there was a highlight on, could you explain affirmations, the practical part?
Yeah.
If I understand the question correctly, the reason that we do these practically is because when you can tell yourself statements, especially I am statements, I'll just use an easy one. I am smart. I am driven, right? Statements like that the more you start rewiring your internal tape, the more you're going to start finding new external reference points in your environment to feed you new data. Remember what I said earlier, that your brain cannot differentiate or filter between reference points that could become negative for your brain versus positive. It just gets data, right? So then if you can train yourself to fuel your internal wiring, to be on the lookout for new reference points, we actually call that in our company, what you focus on expands, right? Or change your thinking, change your world.
The Bow laws.
That's right. That these are laws, they're principles for a reason, right? So this is actually giving you a little bit more of the scientific background of why it's a good idea to get in the practice of doing affirmations and gratitudes, right? Chemically, in your body, you have a response when that happens. And then when you show up on your day-to-day basis and things, new reference points happen to you, your body will start taking the new data that it can use to continue to fuel itself, right? So you want to be careful with what the data is that you tell yourself, so that the magnets become those that are positive, not negative.
Yeah, awesome, absolutely. Is there any more questions that you guys have? Any more questions? Ray wanted to ask how much did the camper cost?
I could tell you, to be honest, my husband had to seal the deal, because when I saw the initial price tag, I may have had a couple of limiting beliefs around it. And I'm here to tell you that we have, our thoughts are a direct correlation to the amount of money that we can make when we help people make more money. So that's definitely true too.
Yeah.
I love the questions. Yes. Oh yeah, somebody brought up a wonderful a book as well. What to say? There's a book and I'm paraphrasing, and What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. It's another really great read.
Yeah.
And one book that, another one is Unlearn. I can put that in the chat too.
Someone is asking a question. What do you tell yourself when a customer or client says no?
That's a great, that's a great response to get from a customer. And the thing is, when you get the no, just find out what's causing the no, because sometimes no can mean no, not now, right? It doesn't have to mean no, never. That's the thing that we may be processing for ourselves. No, not now, or no, why not? Or no, not today. And I think this is where, what I love so much about what your region is doing, there are so many skills camp that I saw coming up based on the slides that will help you to get over the no. For yourself though, one of the things one of my great coaches used to train me to is, when you hear the word no, is to not take words seriously, because people, right, your soul, your body is not a reflection of the words you end up using. So no is just a word. It has the same weight as steak or animal. It's just all these thoughts again in our head that maybe we have a reference point that when we hear the word no, it means something bad.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Hannah has a good question. When problem comes, the negative thoughts will normally appear. How do we then switch that out, and how do we turn off that negative and focus on how can we look at a positive perspective? I think that's probably the question. What do you think we should do?
There is actually a really simple strategy that all of you can learn tonight before you go to bed on it. And that is to say out loud, stop. This is actually what science calls a pattern interrupt. And what pattern interrupts are is when your brain, your old tape starts playing again, is your ability to be able to stop the neurological track. You say it out loud. I mean, you can even watch me use something physical. And what it does is it stops the brain from being able to process where it was headed. Has there ever been a time when you're starting to think negative thoughts and before you know it, they get so big in your head and so amplified that you don't even know how you got there? I know I do this when I get mad with my husband. Like, we'll have a conversation about how the coffee is too cold, and before I know it, I'm talking about how he doesn't have enough time for me, or, you know, my car never gets washed by him. He only washes his car, and it just blows up. And so one of the tactics that I most recently learned about is the idea of stop, right? It does this.
Yeah.
It works, by the way.
Wow.
Try it.
We'll try that tonight. I'll try that on my wife tonight and see what happens.
That's right. Just don't do it out of context. Sometimes you have to be careful when you use family members, you know, not to just walk up and say, stop. Yeah, that can cause different conversations. That's for another training.
There's a good question here. What keeps you vibrant, confident, and positive, Gabi? Well, it's a personal question, but what keeps you vibrant, confident, and positive?
Thank you for asking that. I would not be, I think, an effective coach if I didn't live by these strategies. So I'm here to tell you that these are the 5 strategies that I have really embraced in my 411 and an accountability tool on a weekly basis that make my rhythm. I have a morning routine that I've been working on the last 6 years or so alongside my coaches, and it takes time. And that's why I'm stressing the importance of just starting with one strategy, which for me actually used to be that I would wake up in the morning and savor, because it was the toughest one for me to learn, and then to build that strategy over time. So, for example, by the time now that we started connecting today with our brilliant co-conversation, I had finished some activity to get my blood going. I had a morning meditation. I got my reading done. I had some snuggle time with the husband. And now I've fueled my bucket for social connection today. I promise you, any coaching client later today is going to get your positive energy and dose, and they won't even know what has hit them. So bottom line, a strong morning routine.
Before 11 a.m., get that what do you call that? The energy plan ready. Awesome. Okay.
100%. And you know what? Is it perfect every day? Absolutely not. But I'm a willow tree, and I know you are too.
Absolutely. Strong morning routine. I think that's one of the biggest aha for us today, having that great strong morning routine to start the day off. And that transfer all the negative energy out, and it really resets the perspective and how we look at things and how we want to live that life that very day. Right. Interesting.
Well, I'm also here to tell you, yeah, Jonathan, I used to think that these things required, you know, a lot of effort or a lot of time, right? So I would spend my morning routines. You should have seen my schedule 6 years ago. Jonathan, I used to spend I would time block 3 hours to try and get it all done and then wonder why I couldn't get it done. The difference really begins with pick one, let that domino fall over and over and over again, whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And then to add on the next small thing, because what Gary isn't saying is run 5 miles today when you're not a runner. It could be just get outside, put on your tennis shoes and get outside for 2 minutes. So trust that helps.
Yep. Cool. Do you have any more questions for Gabi? It's a good one. How do we overcome our anxiety, fear, and phobia?
Yeah, I'll speak to the anxiety. Anxiety often happens because we get into space of overwhelm, and overwhelm often happens because we procrastinate. Right? We don't plan well in advance. So we don't plan based on the reality of where we are in that habit that we're trying to build. And a couple of tips to play with that is when you get into the space of anxiety is to actually enlist one of those 5 strategies. And I would say one of the most important ones to get your body chemistry into a different space by either exercising, or if you're if that's not so much of a challenge for you, by the way, it will make a difference, is to also plan the night before.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the tips and tricks that we train our clients to when they're newer to coaching is that we ask them to time block the most important things. We call them their dominoes or the big rocks for their entire week, and to build those, first of all, out over time, right? Acknowledge where you are, meet yourself where you are so that you're building it one level at a time. Sometimes anxiety can simply be caused because the system or the thing we're trying to develop is way too complex based on where we are.
Yeah, and I think that's why the KW model system is so quintessential in how we want to run our business. Because if an agent doesn't have a good working, clear GPS, right, that's where the anxiety comes in. If I don't know my economic model, if I don't know how many, what is that formula for that pathway of hitting my goals, then it's only me and me wanting to hit the goal, and there's no steps in place, and there's no visual direction or perspective of what I need to do on my daily basis. That's where the tools of GPS and 411 becomes a very important reality check for us, right?
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The system and models are the key. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And in fact, Jonathan, how many of your associates may have a cool opportunity the next 30 days to pull out those old GPSs or roadmaps, right? Because we did have good intentions with those when we wrote them a few months ago. And what a cool opportunity now to pull them out and go, okay, new level of meeting myself where I am in my business. And what are those action steps now? And can I physically, with the time that I have and with the way my life has been adjusted, still focus on 3 priorities, or should it maybe just be 1?
Absolutely. And that's the reality, the new normal that we have to go into. And the tools that we have in KW supports us to think and act and work that way. And that's the beauty of that's the beauty of the system and models. And Gary talks about the first thing is system and models. If you don't have that in place, then that's where the anxiety will come. And I think the anxiety will double down on us this season if you don't have that sorted out very quickly.
Absolutely, because otherwise we also build a hobo shack, right? Gary talks about that in the book too. If we don't build a solid foundation, whatever the new foundation looks like, we build something that, when you think of a triangle, instead of building a strong foundation on the bottom that leads you to success at the top, which, by the way, very few people can enjoy because very few people are willing to build those foundations, and we build it the opposite, that is not going to be a house or a triangle that can live on its own on that delicate tip on the bottom. You got it.
Yeah, that's also moving from E to P as well, because that's where.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. At least that season.
Yeah, and in fact,
there you go.
I'm just gonna say this right now. We're peeing all over ourselves here, right? This is a huge pee fest. Let's be honest, because when we are in E, we are in anxiety mode and overwhelmed because we don't have that game plan. When we pee all over our lives and become really directional and purposeful, right? Because just for those of you who are not with KW and you're probably wondering, has she just lost it? We have a model in our training called the 6 personal perspectives, where the trainers, and I saw you have it coming up too, or you may have had it recently, where we help people to identify when we are in a space of being entrepreneurial, right? Life is happening at me or to me, versus taking the decision to become very purposeful and directional based on what our priorities may be in life, so that we can use purpose and a plan of action for something like these strategies to live a better life of productivity. Thank you for letting me say that on a Zoom call. That was a first. I loved it.
I like that. I'll use that tomorrow. I use it on Wednesday because I'm doing that part. So I'll say, go pee on yourself right now.
Yes! Working, everybody. Yes.
All right. Are there any last questions for Gabi right now? We're coming almost to the end of the session. Is there any last questions that we have? If not, Gabi, I want you to hang on for just a couple of minutes to give us some last thoughts. Can I have the announcements up here right now? If I don't mind, can I have the announcements up here right now? Virtual support, please put up the announcements. Thank you. Okay, so some of you were asking about the books. We have those books ready. A lot of things that we are talking about, both Gabi is talking about really coming from all this content from all these mainly from these three books. The One Thing, the MREA, and Shift. For those who are our guests, the MREA or the $1 Million Real Estate Agent, in my opinion, is the only book on this planet that helps an agent to build a $1 million agent business with systems and models. And this is a very interesting book and important book for all agents. That it is a must-have. It's like the Bible for real estate, right? And if you are interested to get those books, kindly send us an email at hello@redfield.com, or if for all KW or Redfield agents, speak to your market center support to get a copy of it. And we are looking at releasing some of these copies in the next couple of weeks as the MCO is kind of lifted up. Can I have the next slide, please? Tomorrow, we are having another session in the afternoon, and this session is open for guests and also your clients in how you can understand challenges in inheritance and transference of property. So it's an open session for your clients and also for agents, right? So do sign up for this session. I'm going to give you a minute to just capture that QR code so that it will link you into a Google form and you can register for this session. We had a great session last week in Mandarin or Chinese. So today is going to be done tomorrow is going to be done in English. Okay, next slide, please. I'm very proud on Thursday. We have D. David Voorhees, who is the KWRI Labs Manager, be sharing with us about how do we utilize technology for database management. David is in charge of labs for KWRI, and I was very privileged to have that conversation with him about how he could add value to all agents. And this is a really must-come-to session this Thursday, 9 p.m. Malaysian time to 10:30 p.m. I encourage all of us to come and join this session so that you get to understand how do you build your database systematically and how do you feed it for your business. So it's very practical. Perhaps that's something that you will get more ahas in that session with David Voorhees. Next slide, please. So thank you for tuning in today. Now, before we end, can you not share my screen right now, Gabi? What are some of your last thoughts or last things that you want to share with our audience here today?
My challenge to you again, I challenge you to unlimit yourself by starting to practice what the most successful individuals do, whether it's real estate or the best moms on the planet, and that is to become really purposeful and intentional around potentially how you begin your day, or how you can currently insert a simple strategy on a short amount of time for now to build a habit of becoming of the mindset to feed yourself new evidence and data to live an unlimited life. So go out there and do that.
Wow, thank you very much, Gabi. Now, everyone on this call right now, if you could say one positive words from what you have gathered from today's session to Gabi, I want you to put that in that chat room right now. In that chat room right now, one positive word or one sentence that you want to just express your gratitude. Let's just express their gratitude right now to Gabi. What would that be? Please put that in the chat room right now. Go ahead, put that into the chat room right now. There you go.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
There you go. So thank you very much.
I love that. Energized. We'll have a couple of folks jumping into bed tonight.
No, we are not sleeping yet. We are going to go lead generate right now.
Oh, please. That ought to be new. Yes.
On behalf of KW Malaysia and all of us in Malaysia right now here, Gabi, thank you so much for blessing us with your time and taking time off your business to work with us and give us these inspirational thoughts and strategies that you are training us. Thank you for adding value to our lives. And if we could do anything for you to add value in your lives, please let the team know. And if you're coming to Malaysia, I don't have a camper, but I will take you around. Okay? I will take you and your husband around for a nice trip. Okay.
Well, you know, we've been planning to visit my mother in Thailand. So, I mean, what's another, you know,
We are not too far away. We are not too far away. So
right.
come on down and join us, and we'll have a blast. And I'm sure
That'll be
everyone
exceptional.
in this group will be looking forward to meet you and be inspired by you again. So thank you very much, Gabi. Okay, everyone else.
It's a huge honor and privilege. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Everybody else, thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you guys at the next training. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.